Almost a year ago now, Too Strong covered something about artificial food. And a little bit before that, we talked about McDonald's having human meat in their burgers, right? We talked about all of that stuff. We even talked about train derailments, and we talked about how they were trying to limit the speed of trains that were carrying food throughout the United States. And people didn't really pay attention to it because, hey, what do they care? They're going to the grocery store. That's all that matters. That's where the food comes from anyway. Well, the thing about ignoring signs is that eventually it'll come back to bite you. And when it bites like a pit bull that's pissed off. And in this case, it's doing just that. If it wasn't enough for them to go after farmers during the times of struggle, where they tell you can't produce certain types of food, and if you do, we're not going to have you ship it across the United States. You have to burn your fields or you have to kill your cows. They've gone one step further. Now they have to inspect everything about your business, including your milk. If you have raw milk, it's a problem. And by raw milk, I don't mean the stuff you get in the store, pour it out in a glass and hold it up, also with nothing added. We are talking about straight out of the cow, some of the best things you'll ever drink, milk. Why? Why would they be trying to crack down on the usage and production of raw, pure milk? You see, the problem with this is not just about the milk. This is the starting point. This is the starting point to do what they did to the plant industry with pharmaceuticals and toxins. Yes, for a long time they've been doing milk and having it boxed and pasteurized and put all these additives. They've been doing that for a long time, and people become lactose intolerant when you're not really allergic to milk. What you're allergic to is all the stuff that they put inside of it to make it something else that's not milk. So let's just be straight about that. So when people start to turn towards the natural, you have to try and curtail that. The best way to do it, clamp down on your sales. You can't produce it, people can't get it, and they have to depend on who? The government. So who best to go into send and do that? The government. There's a video going around where this woman goes to this man's farm and brings a piece of paper and tells him she needs to inspect everything about it. There's no context as to why, no reasoning as to if there was a violation of a health code, none of it.
I don't see where it says that I have to open the door. I mean, if you can show me, I'm willing to do it. I mean,
Okay.
Now, if I was a non-thinking man, I would just say, well, maybe he did something wrong. But I've also been privy to health inspections at businesses. More so, I've seen them at farms. Now, they don't normally have to go into your office to check for health code violations, especially if it's on a farm. They normally have to go into the barns and to see the condition of the cows, the conditions of your pasture, and the conditions of all the food. Then they have to check any animals that have either been sick, dying, dead, sold, beef that you may have cut up, all of that stuff they check. But going into your office has never been one of those things to check for health purposes. In this case, they had to. Why? She doesn't say. They just have to go and check. Now, here's the problem. If you go check somebody's office, there's a tons of things that you, as a company man, need to keep from the government because it does not concern them. It's not that you're trying to hide stuff. It is yours. Certain things the government does not need to be privy to because it's not their business. You pay them whatever taxes you owe, and you operate your business within the confines of the law. Now, if you have speculation that I've violated a law, come with a subpoena or some other thing. You don't just come to me and say, we're trying to inspect you because you have raw milk and we need to go and check your office. You can see that there's something a little bit weird with it. And when you watch her reaction, you'll see something very odd. She gets very defensive when asked why. And they always come with this look of, what do you need to know for? I'm doing my job. I know I jest, but the problem is not just that they have the right to do it, is that they'll do it whether or not they have the right, because people don't know their rights anymore. And they've done a very good job of keeping your rights from you. Unless you purposely go out to find out what you can and can't do, and I use that mildly, what they've allowed you to do and you won't be penalized for is more like it, you'll never know. Because they're not going to tell you. In fact, they're going to try and keep you in the dark and in red tape so much that you'll never figure out when you're doing something wrong until they show up, which seems to be the case right now. So, why are we covering this? We believe it's going to be a precursor to an end. Suppose you decide you want to live off grid. Remember, we've talked about separating? Okay, let's talk about separating. Suppose you get the bright idea to do your own thing. You got your own greens, you got your own rice, you got your own bread, you got your own wheat, you got your own cow, chickens, goats, all of it. You decide you're going to go off. You don't need them for power and you don't need them for water. They've already started putting clamps on how you can get your water and what you have to do for power. They've already done that. What's the next step? Regulate what you can and can't grow. They've already done that too. Certain places you can't even grow wheat. The next bastion that they have to attack is meat. And in order to make sure that what they're giving you is the only option, they have to make sure that you cannot use the secondary one, either by making it illegal or by inspecting you to the nth degree, and you have to have a certain amount of what they decide in your food. You don't think that's possible? I mean, again, I cannot convince you. You can decide whatever you want and you can believe whatever you want. A lot of people out there just they go with the flow of the government, and whatever daddy government tells them, they buy. And then when something really nefarious hits the fan, they want to complain and they the government. You allowed this. We're just trying to open your eyes to the things that they're doing piece by piece that simple people would not see, or they just allow because they don't want to fight. Okay, let me ask you to get out of yourself for a second. Not think about you, but think about the next generation after. You might be on the cusp of dying and you don't care. Good for you. Think about your children or your grandchildren. Now, this is where it's going to go. Pretty soon, your children are not going to be able to fend for themselves, go feed themselves, find their own food, do whatever they want to do. They have to depend on the government because we allowed the government in their prior generation to do whatever they wanted and to take from us our rights. Food is one of them. Right now, for now, Americans have the right to go out and forage food and get what they want. When the government starts to crack down on that, what do you think is going to happen? Exactly what happened on that man's farm. They'll send some docile looking person just nonchalantly inspecting, and before too long you have a bill of say $5, $10, $30,000 that you have to pay for violations. When you ask them what violations, they give you an entire list of codes that you have never seen before, that you will never be able to find, and they say these are the violations. And if you don't solve these things, we're shutting you down. You tell them, but that's unethical and that's wrong. Take it up with your lawyer. Now, you try to take this to court. The court says, well, we can't fight this because it is regulations to help everyone. It's for the what? Greater good. Because we are trying to feed everybody. What you're doing is only feeding you. This is a global society we need. We can't just have people hoarding food. And the way we're going to do it, we're going to manufacture food that everybody can have, and you're standing in the way of progress. Trust me, this is nothing new. This is socialism and communism 101. You can't have what we don't let you have. I know that a lot of the times we talk, it seems like gloom and doom, but you have to change your perspective. Just because someone is relaying information to you that seems like it's negative, it's not mean that it's bad. It's a stop sign. It's trying to help you understand what they're trying to do so that you don't fall for it. It's not bad news. It's needed news. It's an eye opener. Because without the eye opener, you're going to run headlong into what they want to do to you. Milk, greens, rice, water, basic needs. You know that they say everybody deserves? You deserve it as long as we can supply it to you. But if you do it, it's a different case. That's not deserving. That you're being greedy. I remember in Cuba, When Castro took over, Cuba used to be jumping, man. Just whoop, whoop. Man, Havana used to be the place you used to go to just get down. Everybody had these fancy cars. You could go back and look at all the footage of people driving around the place, and all the pictures in Havana and Cuba used to be just people happy. Until they said one day that people that have one too many are greedy. You can't have two of those things. You can't have three. Everyone must only have one. Oh, you have two homes? Nope, one. You think that's far fetched? Wait till it gets here and then you say, well, I didn't see it coming. We tried to tell you. We tried to tell you that socialism landed here forever ago. This is another form of it. This is a way to get it done legally. And by legally, I mean illegally. But many people won't listen. Many people will ignore it. And many people will think we're stretching. And many people think we're conspiracy theorists. And that's exactly where you're going to stay. And when it finally happens, we said years ago, remember we said some years ago that they'll stop the production of certain gas oriented things? Look at New York. They want to take your stove. look at California. They want to take your car. We told you this was going to happen. We were crazy. We were insane. We didn't know what we were talking about. I think you were wrong. We did know what we were talking about. And we're just asking you to open your eyes just a little bit more and see the forest for the trees. Because before too long, there'll be no trees. But they'll keep telling you there's a forest out there. And you, like an idiot, are going to believe it. You will, because they're banked on you not researching anything. When President Bush Sr. and President Bush Jr. were in power, they passed a whole bunch of bills to lower the IQ of the American public. One did it more so through the schools, and the other one did it through tariffs and overseas and dealings. But when Bush Jr. came around and this No Child Left Behind crap showed up, you know what that really meant? It sounded good on the surface, right? That you didn't want any child left behind. You wanted every child to have a fair shot. I'm going to say something that may be upsetting to some people. Not every child. I'm trying to say this very nicely. Not every child can exploit the opportunity well. Some children need to be taking a little more time and may repeat a grade to get it. What Bush did was hurried through people that were not prepared for the next level and told them that they were. These are now the people in power. Very little up here, a lot to happen here, and they have all the power here. And now they're making rules. And the ones that didn't make it into the making rules business are now part of society voting for the people who can't make proper decisions. So what do you end up with? A bunch of people who are slow in society. What happens as a result? Anything the government tells them, they believe. And the ones that have not gone to that extent are conspiracy theorists. We're the indoctrinated ones. We're just asking you to open your eyes. It starts at something small, always does, and it grows into something that you will not be able to control anymore. They're coming after your freedoms, your liberties, and they want control. Anyhow they have to start, they're going to start. This time, it's with milk. The next time, I'm afraid to say it's with your offspring. If you think we're lying, but if you're a critical thinker, go investigate yourself. See if we're lying to you. Come back and tell us what you find. We'll be waiting.